Now we're going to take a deeper look at the scaffold object. We've seen it before. We've actually seen it in every single tutorial because it's part of our template. You can see here we have the app bar, here we have the body. It's in our widget build function. Remember, when you see build, it just means we're going to render something on the screen. And what we're going to actually render is, well, the scaffold, because we're returning the scaffold. In the scaffold, we have an app bar and a body. What we're going to focus on is the app bar. We've seen it before, we've seen it every single tutorial, but what does it really do? Other than just, simply displaying text. Well, let's take a look at it and find out. You can see we have a title, and we have a whole lot going on in here. Let's look at the background color, and let's change this to red. And from here, let's actually play around with this a little bit. One thing that I really like is actions. You can see how it's a list of widgets. That's right, widgets, meaning we can put anything we want in here. So let's do that. We're going to make a variable, and we're going to make a couple functions here. We're just going to increment our value, and through the magic of copy and paste here, let's go ahead and add our value in. Very important to say toString, otherwise you're going to get an error. Now, let's make some buttons up in this action. We want an icon button. And let's add another one. And let's change this around a little bit. So as you can see, hot reloading's taken place, and we have changed things. Our app bar is now red, and we have buttons up in the app bar that are, well, you guessed it, fully functional. So the app bar is more than just a simple decoration. You can put anything you want in there, and you can get really creative with this. We're going to continue our discussion on the scaffold, and we're going to look at what's called the floating action button. Now, the floating action button, you actually can't see it immediately off our scaffold, but it's going to be a button right around here. Let's go ahead and go work with this. Now, what we need to do is make a variable. And let's make an onClick function. And in here we want to say value equal new. We want date time. And we want the now to string. So we're just setting it to the current date time. Let's go ahead and set our value in the text. And let's go back into our scaffold here. If you hit Control Space, you can see everything that goes into the scaffold, and one of those is floating action button. So we're going to make a new floating action button, and initially it has an on pressed. Let's move this down a little bit here. And let's see what properties they have. Background color, child, mini, key, elevation. Some of these really aren't going to make much sense, and we really won't use them. But let's play around with background color. We're going to make this red, and let's say mini. Notice how it has child, which is a widget, meaning, yep, you guessed it, we can put anything we want in there, which is so cool. I love that about Flutter. And let's say icons.timer. Hot reload should take place, and sure enough, there's our little button. And if we click it, we can see the date and time. Let's change mini to false. Hot reload kicks in. You see our button's much bigger now. Very cool, very simple little application, but it shows the power of Flutter, especially with the scaffold object and a lot of the built-in functionality. This is something that really sets novice applications apart from professional applications. Let's take a look at the drawer. If you have no idea what a drawer is, you're not going to have much luck looking at the screen because it's hidden. It's another little hidden gem in the scaffold. A drawer will put an icon over here, and I know you've seen this in other applications where you click it and a little window pops out and you can put controls in it. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. There it is right there, drawer widget. Let's make a new drawer. And inside the drawer we can put pretty much anything we want. So we're going to add a child and we're going to say new container. Container's an interesting widget. Container allows you to actually, well, put things in it. It contains other widgets, but it allows you to pad them as well. So we're going to pad that by 32 pixels. And let's go ahead and add a child in here. We're going to add a column. Column is part of layout, which we're going to cover later. Just understand what it does is it helps us move things around the screen. And you can see it takes a list of widgets, meaning it can hold more than one. That's the really cool thing about it, is you don't have to keep saying child, child, child. You can just add a list of widgets in here. And let's add a raise button. Now, we have our on pressed, and notice we have not made a function. There's really no need to. What we're going to do is we're going to fat arrow this over to Navigator. Navigator allows us to navigate around, not just within the same window, but other windows as well. We're just going to pop this in the current context. And what that's going to do is actually close the drawer. There's push and pop. We're going to cover those during navigation, but really just understand what this is going to do is close the drawer. Hot reload should have taken effect, and sure enough, there's our drawer. When we click that, hello drawer, and if we click this button, it closes it. You can add pretty much anything you want. Because the drawer is shown in the current context, it shares the same state as this page. Now we're going to look at persistent footer buttons. It's another hidden gem here. It's actually along the bottom. This area right here is called the footer. And in there you can put just about anything you want. So let's go ahead and fill this in. First thing, we want a variable. And let's make a function. Let's change that to lowercase just to be consistent. All right, now we can get down to business here. You can see persistent footer buttons takes an array of widgets. Widgets, meaning we can use any control we want. In here, let's just say new icon button. And let's just randomly grab some. And let's just make a few of these. Set these to just random icons so we can tell they're different. And hot reload has picked up. As you can see, here's our footer area, and here's our buttons. Let's go ahead and change this so we can see that update when we click. And you can see the value changes. Simple and easy way to put controls at the bottom of the screen. Similar to persistent footer buttons is the bottom navigation bar. It's also at the bottom, but it's a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and explain. First thing we need to do is crack open our state, do Control O, and let's look for initial state. Let's add this in, and let's move it up here just for the sake of clarity. We're going to make a list. And we're going to make a list of bottom navigation bar items. Going to make a value. And let's make an index. All right, so initial state. This is something we really haven't seen before. Initial state is the, well, you guessed it, the initial state of the state class, meaning before anything's really rendered on the screen for the first time, what do we want to do with our state? And this is where we can actually, set some state items, set some things exactly. Exactly how you want to do it is really up to personal preference. You don't even really need to set state. You can just set values of different variables. Think of it like a constructor. Not really constructor, it's called immediately after the constructor. All right, so let's go ahead and let's say items equal new list. And let's just add some items in here. And we're going to add a new bottom navigation bar item. And you see how it has an icon and a title. So we're going to say new icon, icons dot, and let's just add people. And then for the title, this is also a widget. New text, we're just going to say people. And through the magic of copy and paste here, we can just make a few items. Let's say weekend and message. All right, so we've got some items in there. Now what we need to do is actually create, you guessed it, our bottom navigation bar. First thing we're going to do here is set our value. Some people like to do it before the body. Some people like to do it after the body. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to do it after just for the sake of clarity. We're going to make a new bottom navigation bar. You see the only item it really needs is items. So we're going to give it the items. Save this, hot reload. And you can see here is our items. Now, when we click, nothing really seems to happen. It's because it's part of state. We have to actually set the state. So let's go ahead and do that. Set the fixed color. We'll say colors.blue. And let's say current index. And we want the actual index. Now we're going to set our state on tap. This is because we have an array of items. I shouldn't say array. We have a list of items. And in that list, there's 0 index. So when we tap one of them, we want to set that index. we're going to say int item, and in here we're going to set state. We're going to set the index, and then we're going to set the value. Yes, here we go. If you're wondering why that didn't work the first time, it's actually pretty simple. The double quotes allows us to embed. The single quotes simply did not. Save this. Hot reload should take effect. And there we go. Voila. Now we have a fully functional bottom bar.